Now it's time for our featured story of the day. All right, everybody. Gonna move on to our featured story of this evening. Okay, so I want to talk about the DGA and the WGA a little bit right now because this is something that's looming in Hollywood. So the DGA, the Directors Guild of America, and the WGA, the Writers Guild of America, they're up for the contract negotiations come June, which normally they start negotiating March, April, something like that. Well, they're already kind of saying, everybody, that this is going to be a difficult thing to negotiate. Now they're talking about residuals is a problem right now for them. They're talking about the episode counts because a lot of the times they've been cutting episodes down and down and down and down because that's the world we live in. There used to be 20 some episodes per season. Now we've got, 8, 10 episodes, 6 episodes sometimes. So that's a big problem for the WGA and the Directors Guild too. They're saying like residuals are a big thing. Streaming's a big thing. We didn't touch upon it enough. So this is kind of what they're saying at the DGA about negotiations coming up in the future here. They're saying in this environment, your strength and support will be more important than ever. We are committed to fighting for an entertainment industry that is fair, safe, equitable, sustainable, and accessible for all. We all have a stake in issues like wages and streaming residuals, funding for our health and pension plans, and more. We are committed to ensuring that the work and contributions of directors and their teams are respected. They're saying that this year's negotiations are about more than bargaining a strong contract for the next 3 years. They're about setting the course for the future of our industry and ensuring sustainability of hundreds of thousands of good union jobs. So, this is something on the back burner that's coming up. And the problem is the directors and the writers, here's what I'll put out there. They can strike and they can be off for as long as they want. These people have the highest wages in Hollywood. So they can be fine hanging at home, negotiating, going back and forth with all the grips, the electrics, the crew, the stand-ins, the background. I mean, like the actors, the principal actors, these people, I mean, a lot of principals can be fine, but like the day players, the people that are day in and day out busting their ass 5 days a week. A lot of times these crew members and these actors, they'll go up to multiple programs every day. So they'll be on one show Monday, different show Tuesday, different show by Friday, That's kind of how it works. You can jump around a lot. Now, if everything shuts down, all of a sudden your income's gone. And a lot of these people don't have savings. They just don't. They have a little bit, but it won't last like directors and writers. And before, back in 2007, when we had a writer's strike, it really screwed up the whole town. Productions just stopped. Without writers, you can't approve final scripts. You can't just shoot. You have the script, that's great and dandy. But if you're on set, even if you just have the script, you can't just shoot without a writer actually being on set because they change stuff and they have to be there to actually change it and approve it. And a normal director can't just do that. It has to be an actual WGA member to actually change that. So this is a problem moving forward. And then, of course, you don't have directors. You can't shoot. So if this happens, and they're talking about combining the WGA and the DGA are talking about joining forces, and SAG-AFTRA is talking about helping them too if they have to. And they're saying this is the time we actually have to stand up and stop this and get to the producer's face and make something happen. So this is a worry for everybody that works in the entertainment industry. Come summer, we might shut down. And who knows how long it could take. Now, look at IATSE before they had their whole pending strike. They worked it out. We didn't strike. Now, we'll still say this. A lot of the things that happened in the IATSE contract that they said were big wins are not happening, ladies and gentlemen. I will say that right now. One of the big things was a weekend turnaround. I know a lot of people that are working on shows that are not getting their weekend turnaround. And they're not getting penalized. So that's the thing. Like, this is pivotal for DGA and WGA to get in there and fix problems that are happening. But for me personally, I'm worried about everybody's jobs and I'm worried about the entertainment industry shutting down. So, long speech afterwards, what's going to happen? Now, I'm going to go to my co-host first, Mr. Michael Casey. Mike, you hear about this. What do you think? Do you think that the Directors Guild will actually try to stop and strike and join forces and shut down Hollywood? Or do you think that this is just them blowing smoke up people's asses? They'll work it out. They'll have a deal before you know it, and we'll continue as we always have in Hollywood.
This is a really complex issue, Brian. There's a lot of moving parts. Well, you were talking just a moment ago. I honestly hadn't been thinking about all the crew
ramifications.
members, all the actors. Well, yeah, those particular ramifications. And I had been basically operating along the thought process of all these other multi-billion-dollar companies over the past 3 years of the pandemic, whose stock price we just seen going up and up and up, where the the bills are getting paid by the people down on the street, right? So my initial
Yeah.
thought was like, okay, well, I would like to see that burden being distributed more equitably. So I pulled up the Warner Brothers Discovery stock, and they're over the past 3 years, they had a real nice spike when everybody tripled the number of services that they were prescribed to, that they were subscribed to
Yeah.
at the beginning of the pandemic. But then they've been on a pretty even keel. Um, so my at any rate, my initial thought process is right out the window. Do I think that the directors are going to dig in their heels? Yeah, I mean that's kind of their responsibility. And you say blow smoke, and I kind of think that even irrespective of what kind of deal that they're going to strike, it is their responsibility to the people that they're working with in their union, to blow that smoke, to say, you guys that want to invest money in us as a group, it's on you to sufficiently incentivize us with all these union benefits, various fringe, and it all equates down to money ultimately. But that they want a fair deal. So I appreciate that they're blowing smoke, because that's their job. I don't know how it's going to shake out, man. When was the? I'm trying to think. A couple of WGA strikes. We remember the big one when
Yeah,
everything
in
totally
'07.
shut down in '07, and there's been another one that was pretty serious in the meantime, if I recall correctly. Um,
Yeah, but they haven't gotten to the point that back in '07, and like
mhm.
IATSE over last summer almost shut down. It went to they approved the strike authorization. And so if the IATSE would have gone through, you're talking about, a huge part of the crew just being taken off set, you're done. But WGA, but they've never had a strike before IATSE. They have not. So that was one of those things where, okay, well, maybe they'll work it out, and they did. But WGA they have had a strike. Like I said before, it's one of those things that it's shut down. And you look at a place like Warner Brothers too, like they've had a rough time. I know we shit on another episode, but like they really have had a rough time. Like with HBO Max, they thought that was going to be a big gold mine. You put all their movies onto streaming. They lost a lot of money. They would have made revenue going to theaters. They just didn't have. And then Discovery bought it at a loss. They're finally kind of getting into a better spot, as you're saying, based off the stocks. And with James Gunn coming on and all that, this could really, if they shut down, it could really hurt Warner Brothers bad. And it could hurt a lot of companies really bad. And of course, these are the producers. So they have to think about this. They already went through that with IATSE. They didn't want to strike either because they had just come out of COVID. And it was a whole thing like, we're just getting back. We're just
Right.
bouncing back. We're just starting again. We can't shut down again.
Yeah,
And
I
now
do
it's been,
wonder. I wonder how much spine the union members will have to hold out, if they'll be able to fight a war of attrition, because they
Mhm.
might not have the kind of coffer. They might not have the war chest filled up right now. They might need the jobs, so they might take crappier deals.
and that's
Yeah.
what it was during IATSE, honestly. They were a lot of people I was saying, because I was working on American Horror Story at the time, and everybody was saying, like, the whole crew were like, we can't do this. I'm finally making money again. We can't strike, we can't strike. But then it's like, if you don't strike, then you don't do it after COVID. Like, when do you do it, And of course, it was probably the best time and the worst time. And that's kind of what it is now. It's like, we're really kind of back now. And so to shut down again could be a huge problem. Now, Jake, as a manager, you hear this, and you just came into this industry not too long ago, right? But you hear a potential shutdown, and what's it think about your future and your clients? Like, what do you think about this?
Well, it's I hope, like you said, that they figure it out before it becomes a problem. For me personally, I mean, I haven't been in the game long enough for it to really affect me all that much, right? So, as far as skin in the game, I could probably figure out what I'm going to do if there was a lull in activity. But yeah, like Mike said, the war of attrition is, who's who's got the bigger chest on the back of their car, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, it's a lot harder to keep several thousand, 100,000, possibly million people with the ability for everybody to bulk up their reinforcements and be okay to take a position and hold out for a decent amount of time, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. You know, you have to, if you want to beat the Warhammer, you're going to have to make sure that you're ready to do so. And, you know, they might just be garnering support for the cause. You know, if like you said, blowing smoke and just creating enough noise around it to get people to pay attention might be what they're doing.
Which they have to do if they want people to get behind them. Like I said already, WGA is like, I mean, they have the same contract kind of running up at the same time with the producers. And they started talking about it in November, the DGA, like, oh, we're going to start doing this. Now they're saying it again in the new year. They're like, hey, guys, just so you know, this could be difficult. And we're talking to WGA. And so they already got WGA coming on board. And WGA still hasn't said they're 100% on board, but they usually fall in line in these situations, like SAG too. I guarantee SAG will jump on board. They usually support each other when it comes down to these things. But it also comes down to like how many of these members actually have the producers or are in their producers' pocket too, is also the big issue. Because a lot of actors are producers as well. So they're going to want to sign with the producers as well. And there's a lot of directors that are producers too. So they might want to sign with the producers. So that's where it gets messy and muddled, if you ask me. And honestly, I feel like a lot of these people, there are a lot of directors too, don't get me wrong, that are day players. They do jump to different shows. They aren't making millions of dollars. There are a lot of people like that, but they are in a higher caliber and a higher pay raise than grade than a lot of people. So I think a lot of them could hold off at the strike. But the question comes down to, are they willing and able to do that to the entertainment industry and shut it down that way to affect everybody? And is that what we really want right now? Mike, do you think that's what we need right now? Do you think we need a shutdown, or do you think this is not the time?
Do we need a shutdown? What kind of question is that?
Saying.
Shut it all down. Fuck it. It's a pox upon humanity. It's ruining all of our expectations for what our daily lives should be like. We should raise Hollywood to the ground. We'll get you out
Turn
first,
it down,
Brian, and then after, as soon as you're on the plane, we go scorched earth on it. I wanted to, sorry to pivot on you. There was one thing that was present in that press release that you shared, when they say that they're talking not just about like the next few years, but they're talking about resetting the whole landscape going forward. And to me, like, I can think of a couple of things that would mean. I mean, one, like, or I guess it's really just one issue, and that's the issue of rights. What do rights mean in terms of, because I don't know, we were talking about the larger organizational structures. What do rights mean when all the companies are coming together, when there's less competition, like, and you're trying to retain creative rights? That's something. I mean, I'm not a arts lawyer, if an arts lawyer is a thing, but I can imagine that being an issue. An entertainment lawyer. And then the other thing that may be more important is in terms of, I remember being, when a decade ago when I was an extra out in LA, like, you would sign your rights away every day. I'd sign my rights away. I believe the quote is, in perpetuity throughout the universe.
Yeah.
And just
I like those Scientology contracts.
For my $106 and a smoke bump, if I was lucky.
Give me that $14.
I have to imagine that that creatives are concerned about the way that their creations are going to be used, because we don't just live in a singular kind of media publishing environment. We live in I cleared the rights for this behind me, so that's okay. But even in
public domain,
even in issues like we have the whole AI art thing happening right now, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know what you
I
call
saw that,
but
it's really cool. But it's weird.
That's all it is, really.
That's things that were created by people that are being co-opted and in some cases monetized, and the creators are not being compensated at all. So when they talk about resetting the landscape for the future, I think that they probably really do want to address some of those really tricky kind of forward thinking issues. So so my love goes out to all union members everywhere, but my interest in this particular issue is seeing, like, man, are they going to be able to think forward and write some really just interesting rules? Because they're going to have to get very particular. So I think it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of logistics to work out to get the best contract for them, and it doesn't happen overnight. They'll do it for months. Like I said, they'll start in March or April, and then the contracts aren't up till like June, so they have plenty of time to kind of work it out. But it always comes down to the last minute. It just does. They go back and forth, do an offer, and then take it back. I know, like a lot of times when we vote. I know people tell me that on the board that when you vote, if you vote no, it's horrible, because even if you don't like the contract, they have to go back to the drawing board and start over, and everything's off the table. And I'm like, I don't see it that way. I see it that, okay, this isn't appropriate for everybody yet. We have to kind of go back and, like, what's wrong? What do we need to do? We need to make this right. We shouldn't just jump on the first grenade and call it a day. We should be able to work it out. That's all I'm saying. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think this is going to shut down, or do you think they'll work it out?
I think it has a lot to do with, like Mike said, what are the details?
Yeah.
So, and how far into the future can you really look with how fast things are changing now? Like, what
So
could
many
have
changes
lasted?
with streaming.
Yeah, what could have lasted and been effective for 10 years might only be good for 2 nowadays, because of the speed in which things are going. And what are the things, NFTs, is that a thing that's like your rights are kind of attached to something?
Yeah, but that's still not covered. There's stuff like that too that's not really covered,
Right. So at what point, how do you digitally make something yours? And they might be attacking that too, because with so much stuff going on that's on, like, this program, people doing stuff on TikTok, creators are using platforms everywhere. So how much of that world are they going to bring into this world? I think might be part of it too.
Yeah, they might have to mesh that in, because that's a big problem. That's a big problem that's not covered under the union.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we don't have a director on the show right here. Technically, I guess I'm the director, but it's I guess technically, because I'm running the switchboard. But that's a thing, and they're going to be looking at that, and they're looking at the pension and health. That's always a problem too. They want to make sure people are covered when they get older. Our SAG pension health is fucked. It just is. And they let it get that way. They knew it was bad, and they let it get worse. And COVID hit, and then it was tanked. So it's just like, those are the things that have to be addressed. When we had our negotiation during COVID, they didn't address the pension health, and they just like ignored it. And then after they passed the contract, we voted on it. It was like 2 weeks later, SAG said, oh, by the way, pension health is fucked. About half people are going to lose their pension health. When they could have worked it out with the producers to work it out ahead of time. But they didn't, and they knew it was a problem. So hopefully the people in charge of the DGA, the WGA, are a little better than the ones at SAG. Not to knock SAG, because I do like SAG, but I do think that enough is enough. And in the words of Owen Hart, the great Owen Hart wrestler, well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change. And that's what I
Once
say.
a Ranger, always a Ranger.
I am not a nugget.
Keep going, guys. I'm here all night. I got nothing else to do.
We can go all night, Owen Hart, late great Owen Hart. But everybody, we'll see what happens with this. Again, it's still early. They're going to start negotiating soon, but they're talking about it. I just want everybody to know out there, there's this potential for over the summer. So keep updated, keep informed, put some, keep in touch with people, try to help out if you can, get involved, because that's how you can help your union.